Hi, I'm Ronix from Ronix Photography, and today I'm going to show you how I do my frequency separation. And today we are having something totally different. It's a black and white portrait. So without wasting more time, let me show you how I go through my frequency separation. And for this image I'm going to use frequency separation using a lasso tool and Gaussian Blur. So stay tuned as we go through editing this very portrait. First of all, I'm going to come here on image, then mode. I'll change this to 16-bit because 16-bit kind of gives me a higher quality photo, like a portrait of higher resolution. So you're going to start by removing the blemishes and the pimples from our portrait. So we're going to start by pressing Ctrl J on the keyboard. Then we'll look for our spot healing brush and select it. So you're going to zoom in to remove the pimples and the blemishes first. So I'm going to go through this quickly. You could as well use the healing brush tool for more accurate results. I'm going to first remove the pimples from the portrait quickly for the sake of saving time for this tutorial. Yeah, I'm going to remove those. I think I'm only going to remove those which are like more significant in this portrait. And as I can tell you, for this portrait I had a simple setup. I used a newer speed light and a softbox and some reflector I just created on that day, and we did the shoot from the makeup studio. Yeah, so we go on by removing these pimples or blemishes slowly. So you could zoom out. We remove this smile line slowly. Yeah, remove these pimples. I think we are almost done. We have a little blemishes here on the arm. We are almost done. We have some blemish here on the nose. I think that's all with removing blemishes. If you really want, you could as well remove this flyaway hair. I don't know, some people don't like it, they don't prefer it like in these portraits. So you could as well go on and remove the flyaway hair from the photo. Yeah, so here we are. So far so good. As you can see, before after. So we could merge these two layers by pressing Shift Ctrl E to merge, or you could as well come here on layer, then you merge the visible layers. So we are going to go into doing our frequency separation. So taking this so slow, I really want everyone to follow up easily enough and catch up with me. So we are going to go in for our procedure of frequency separation. So we're going to start by pressing Ctrl J twice, creating two layers, and I'm going to name this blur and the top layer as my texture layer. So I'll select the blur layer and make sure I've turned off my texture layer and come to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and I'm going to zoom out here. So what you'll do, you'll have to slide this until you're seeing less of the details of the skin. So for this photo, probably the radius will be around 10. I click OK, then I'll select my texture layer and reactivate it or make it visible now. Then I'll come to image, apply image, then I'll select the blur layer, that is our middle layer, and the blending, I'll come, select subtract. Your scale has to be 2 and the offset 128. The opacity should be 100%. Make sure the invert is not checked and the preview is checked, and leave all the other panels in their default form. So I click OK, then I'll come here on the blending options and I'll click on linear light. So our portrait will be back with the details and everything. So for this, I'll select our layers, the texture and the blur layer, and I create a group by pressing Ctrl G. So I'll rename this to frequency separation. So I'll click on the blur layer. I get my lasso tool. Make sure your feathering is around 25 pixels. So I'll zoom in the photo. So after getting my lasso tool, I'll come here, filter. Oh, before that, after selecting my lasso tool, I'll come, I select on the area of the skin. You have to be careful enough not to pass through the eyebrows. I select carefully. Yeah, you have to be so careful here. So after selecting that, I'll come to filter, blur, then Gaussian blur. So you'll have to slide this until you get the right texture for your skin. So I'll increase the radius until I get the right texture for my skin for this photo, and I think around 32 will be enough for this photo. So I'll click on OK. So I'll start selecting the area of the skin where I want to apply that effect. You have to select according to the shape, then right click and press on Gaussian blur and the effect will be applied. Then select a new area of our skin, then right click, select Gaussian blur still to be applied. Then we are going to select a new area of the skin, right click, select Gaussian blur. We're going to select a new area of the skin still. You have to be careful while doing this. Yeah, Gaussian blur. So we have to keep on doing this for this photo, and I'll come still, select here. As you can see, I'm selecting according to the shape of the area where I'm going to apply our effect. So right click, then Gaussian blur. Then I'll come here on the nose, on the side of the nose, select according to the shape, right click, click on Gaussian blur, come here still. As you can see, I'm trying to avoid the highlights of this nose. I really don't want to flatten the nose, because most of the time when you select on the nose, this very highlight here, let me try showing you how it will look if I apply the effect. As you can see, we have lost the highlight switch on the nose, so what I'll do for this case, I'll try to fade out the effect to apply a smoother effect on the nose so that we don't lose our highlights, by pressing Shift Ctrl F on the keyboard. So we shall reduce the opacity till we kind of get our highlights back, and I think, yeah, 22 will be fine for this nose area. So we are going to come here and select that highlight. We apply our effect. As you can see, we have still lost the highlights which are there, so we're going to fade it by pressing Shift Ctrl F and fading it. Yeah, we're going to fade it until we get our highlights kind of back, so 16 will do. So you keep on selecting. So I would like to show you where we have reached so far with this photo. So this is the before, and this is the after before, and this is the after. So we are going to keep on applying our Gaussian blur effect around this photo. So we are now at the lip area. Select that part, right click, Gaussian blur, select here and apply Gaussian blur. Then here on the nose area, remember we had skipped it last time, right click, apply the Gaussian blur. I think so far so good, so we are going to continue applying our effect around the photo. So we are going to come to the neck area. So since we have some shadows here, come, select, right click and apply Gaussian blur. As you can see, it kind of makes it kind of plastic, so we are going to fade by pressing Shift Ctrl F on our keyboards and reducing the opacity to around 34. Around 50 will do. So we select another neck area, then apply the Gaussian blur and fade it to around 50% by pressing Shift Ctrl F. We're going to come here. You have to be careful while doing this so that you don't skip out on some parts of the skin, for our portrait to be really even enough and looking more realistic. We wouldn't want to miss out some parts of the skin. So we come and continue selecting. So for the fingers, you really have to be careful while selecting. As you can see, I'm selecting an individual finger every time, but you could take your time. I'm just doing this for the sake of the tutorial. That's why I'm kinda hurrying with this process. You select, right click and click on Gaussian blur. Then we select another part. Yeah, right click, Gaussian blur. As you can see, we are here before, after, before, after, before, after. So we're coming here on this arm, so we could select here, since it is a flat area. Have to be careful here on the edges. You right click and apply our magical Gaussian blur. So we come and select here tool, right click, apply our Gaussian blur. Yeah, we have to come here on the fingers. You shouldn't miss out any part, because the effect is going to be applied on the whole portrait. So we continue right clicking and applying our magical Gaussian blur. I don't know, I'm calling it magical, but yeah, it is really magical. As you can see, it is doing the magic, it is doing justice to the photo. So we continue, we select here, be careful about the edges. We wouldn't want to mess it up at this point. Yeah, right click and apply our Gaussian blur. So this is where we have reached with this photo, and I could show you the before and the after. Before, after, before, and this is the after. So this is an easy way of doing frequency separation in Photoshop. So if you really want, you can go ahead and do the dodging and burning to enhance the photo and give it some little more dimension and giving it more shape. But this is an easy way of doing frequency separation using the lasso tool and Gaussian blur in Photoshop. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up, and you can subscribe to this channel for more interactive videos. Thank you for watching.